So, let's start with the E.I.T.H.R.
You're listening to the E.I.T.H.R podcast with D-Cal.
And happy Monday, ladies and gentlemen. D-Cal here at the E.I.T.H.R podcast from GNSHQ in Northern California. How's everyone doing today? Yo, the weather is crazy, man. Today is a what I like to call Meetup Monday. And first of all, welcome to the E.I.T.H.R podcast. Thank you very much for returning. If you are a repeat listener, welcome. If you're brand spanking new to the E.I.T.H.R podcast, Elephant in the Room, where we talk about issues and topics that are usually difficult to discuss, or you might discuss them with people who have more of a short-sighted perspective. So even if you don't necessarily agree with what you're hearing here, you're going to have what I like to say a more informed perspective on the things that we discuss here today. So, you can go ahead and follow us on social media. On Instagram and Twitter, it's the same. E.I.T.H.R, T-H-E-E-I-T-H-R. If you have any type of topic or things you would like for me to bring up in discussion on the podcast, you can peep us there. You can also reach us with the Spreaker app, and you can chat with me live. Or 916-282-9372. That's the phone number, 916-972-9372. 282-9372. 916-282-9372. That way you can call or text me with things that you would like for us to talk about. So, we like to do things here. We're starting off with a inspirational, motivational, and we like to give shout out. So, I want to give a shout out to everyone who made it past the weekend. It's June, but the weather still feels as if it's fall/spring. I don't know really what the hell is going on with the season, but you know, it is what it is. So shout out to everybody who's out there making it happen. Shout out to everyone who's able to see another week. And for inspirational, motivational, I'll go ahead and say this to people. Be someone that makes you happy, right? So all the qualities you wish that you had someone possessing to make you a better person, to brighten your mood, or whatever it may possibly be, you be that person. Fall in love with yourself. Learn to fall in love with yourself. It makes it easier for people to fall in love with you too. Because if you know what makes you happy, it's easy for people to follow suit, right? So, be someone you fall in love with. Be someone that makes you happy. Simple as that. So we're going to get into a couple of things. If you saw the description, I was speaking with Sarah, who runs the YouTube channel Delivering with a Purpose, so you can go ahead and check her out. She called me up and was telling me some things that it kind of made me think about some of the craziest things, or some of the most interesting things you shop for customers, because DoorDash sometimes goes and picks up items from people. So, you do people shopping for them, And some of the things is kind of like, again, this is not a judgment, but it's definitely one of those, huh? And so we're gonna talk about that. We're also gonna talk about customer service, man. And this is really huge, especially in the days of AI, which is creeping up on us expeditiously. Shout out to Joe Clark for that. And there's little tricks and trades of customer service that that's literally right in front of you, and people don't understand it. So we're gonna spend some time on that. And then on social media, there's a Mr. J conversation that he had with a news anchor. And it really, really, really made me think over the weekend about some of the issues we have socially in this world, at least in this country. Reasons why we never will ever get over the social law. And I learned when dealing with complex things, the best way to do is to break it down to the most simplest form, to where you can explain it to a tech illiterate person or a toddler, and they'll be able to understand it. So we're going to talk about that Jay Morrison conversation in a quick second. But once again, if you guys want, just go ahead and chat with us here on the Spreaker app. And again, 916-282-9372 is the phone number. So we're going to be right back after a word from this. Shout out is your boy Decal here at the E.I.T.H.R podcast. And today is Monday, June 5th, 2023. All right. Just don't change. We'll be right back.
My name is Andrea Vargas, and I find something special about sharing the gallery that represents me here in Santa Fe, New Mexico. It's called King Galleries, and it's a special place. I'm originally from California, but we find in this gallery a way to see paintings of the Southwest, of the desert, of the land, and as well as the pottery that's made by living and breathing native Pueblo artists. So it's undeniably a place to receive inspiration and to reconnect with the legacy that belongs to all of us. It belongs to all of us as peoples of the Americas. And so there's much to share. My recent body of work is inspired by the desert, the thunder clouds, and thick paint. And I look forward to more people getting to share that experience and those beautiful aspects of Earth.
This is Henry from New York, and I listen to the E.I.T.H.R podcast with my homie Decal.
The E.I.T.H.R podcast with Decal here, the GNS HQ in Northern Cal. So, shout out to my girl Andrea, man. You just heard the voice clip for her. She was featured in an art magazine out there in the Southwest. And, in my opinion, this woman is an artistic guru. So I in junior high school, right before we graduated to go to high school, she did this mural on the wall of one of the buildings of our junior high school at Canyon Middle School in Castro Valley. And to this day, I believe it's still there. People say it's still there. I haven't been up there since, obviously, a few decades, but people say it's still there. And kids, they still look at it and they watch it. And people take really good care of it. So, I just want to give a shout out to my peoples, because art has always been her passion. So it's kind of nice to see her receiving some success and props from the universe. So, big shout out to you, girl. Much love to you on that. The craziest things that Dashers have shopped for. Again, listen, DoorDashers are basically whether it's DoorDash, whether it's Uber Eats, whether it's is Postmates still around? If they get bought out, if it's a gig driver who's doing a Instacart, doesn't matter what it is, right? They are an extension of the customer. They're doing the shopping for said customer. So when you go into these stores, you have to understand that people, they don't see the DoorDash driver as an extension of the customer. They see you as somebody who's shopping. They kind of forget that part, and that's going to get tied into the customer service aspect of this a little bit later. But it's crucial that people understand they are an extension of the customer. They are there in the place of the customer, shopping for somebody who's ultimately paid for this stuff in advance. They're just going to go ring it up and drop it off. But yeah, with delivering with a purpose, I think some people, first of all, you're having a shop for things that you're looking for. Totally understand. Makes sense in the world. Got it. It's fine. I'm trying to make sure I word this delicately so that way it doesn't come off a certain type of way or people perceive it wrong or anything like that. But certain items are just, so a certain combination of items can be very eye-opening. Like she hit me up earlier, was basically, can you believe this? And was telling me the different items in this one shopping order or whatever, and it kind of made me think. Some of the most unique things I picked up from the store: Monster Energy drink. I'm not exaggerating. Monster Energy drink, KY Lube, Pop Rocks. For those who know, you know, right? Another one was gum, mouthwash. There was something else in that order too, which made it stand out. Because gum and mouthwash is a big deal, but it was something else in there as well. But I've had Flamin' Hot Cheetos, Magnum condoms, lube. Don't ask me, wasn't my order. I think one of the most unique that kind of just made me say, damn, was 4 Red Bull, 2 Plan B, and a pregnancy test. Listen, I'm not judging anybody. I'm just saying whoever that was, they had a hell of a weekend planned ahead of them, right? That's great. When you now, the funny thing is, most of these people, they have a leave at door item, right? So I know they want to be, really discreet with their order, but it is pretty funny. So she had an order where it was for some lubricant, and the person kind of propped open the door, and you couldn't see nothing, but you can tell it was an elderly gentleman who wasn't fully clothed, who needed some extra assistance. So she could tell by the voice and kind of by the skin tone and that, what was popping off. And whoever that was, good for you. Who says love has to die of old age? Right? Love has no age. Love has no limits. And if you still got it, damn it, you just still getting it. So I think that was pretty interesting, right? Do you guys care to share with some of the more interesting things you have ordered, or some of the most interesting things you have seen or picked up while doing, your job or rigging somebody up? 916-282-9372. Or you can hit us up on the Spreaker app and just say, yo, one of the most interesting combinations of things that I've rung somebody up at my job, or I picked up for somebody, or something that I purchased was this, that, and the third. Dude, I just think it's pretty, it tells hell of a story. It kind of makes up, 4 Red Bulls, 2 Plan Bs, and a pregnancy test. Yo, they were not going outside that weekend. Right? So that was pretty wild, man. And if you're going to order, I guess also this is kind of more of a subjective thing, but for the women who do the delivery gigs and you pick stuff like this up, try not to be judgmental, right? And if you open the door for ordering some interesting combinations of items, try not to be super, weird about it. Just play it on like nonchalant, or simply just, wait for everyone to go and just leave. Certain things though, you should probably pick up on your own, like, just to save the fact of somebody going to kiss and tell and getting some stuff, But hey, the service is there, so why not take advantage of it? I get it. Like I said, no judgment. I just thought it was kind of funny though, in my opinion. So again, let's tie this into to customer service. When you have a delivery person who comes to your restaurant, so let's say, for example, I'm door dashing and I come to somebody's restaurant. For those of you who work in the food industry, it doesn't hurt to acknowledge the person is there. First and foremost, all you gotta do is acknowledge her or him, right? So, I walk into ABC this restaurant, I'm just making up her name, and you're the host or the hostess, or you're at the door, or you come by, you see somebody with a bag, you see somebody standing there with a phone in their hand, you see somebody clearly looking for service, clearly looking for somebody to help them out. It doesn't hurt to sit back and say, have you been helped yet? And they're going to sit back and tell you, no, I haven't. Yes, I have. Or here's what I need assistance on. I think it seems nowadays, most people, when you're in the world of service, man, people don't want to ask you if you need help for the fact they're afraid that you actually might need help. And then they have to help you. I don't know why folks are so anti-customer service nowadays. And it probably has a lot to do with the fact that no one has been trained how to do customer service, because most of the higher ups probably think that customer service is a common thing you do, right? But it ain't. It's so far in between of seeing great service anymore. And I'm not talking about the kind of service you give hand and foot, just one customer. Again, just acknowledge somebody. Hey, you been helped yet? No, I haven't. Okay, someone will be with you just one quick second. If I come back and they haven't helped you, I got you. That's it. I can tell you right now, when I walk into a store, just to simply get acknowledged says a lot, right? And I get it. When you work at a 9 to 5, 10 to 6, 11 to 7, that shit becomes redundant, right? It's very repetitive, and it's the same old, day in, day out. I get it, completely understand that. But it doesn't hurt to look up from your phone with a smile and to say, well, man, yeah, okay, cool. Just one moment. That's it. That's, man, that shit works wonders. Because now the customer's like, okay, I've been acknowledged. They know that I'm here. Someone will be with me just one moment. Perfect. It's making the customer feel as if they matter. Because remember, they're coming in spending money. The money that they spend pays the bills. Payroll is a bill. You are on the payroll. So the money that's made helps secure your position at the job. It might not be something you see instantly, something you see immediately, but over time, when a location cuts back on payroll hours, it affects you. It does. If a customer is looking for a product, does it really hurt to check the inventory or maybe contact another store that's nearby to see if they have it in their inventory? Hey, this is, ABC shoe store, and we're calling DFG shoe store. Do you guys have a size in this? You do? Could you put it on hold for? Instead of, yeah, we ain't got it. I don't know when to get it. Shipment comes whenever it comes. I don't know. Right? Just having worked retail before, I can attest, man, like the service that you get can make or break whether a customer comes back. Hell, you can get recruited from your job based on your customer service. And I think people don't think that far, right? You don't have to be Mr. or Mrs. Ass Kisser. But what you should do is be Mr. or Mrs. How may I be of your service while you're in this establishment today? It shouldn't be that difficult. So again, if you're in a restaurant and you see a delivery person or someone who has their phone, you don't know if it's a DoorDasher, you don't know if it's an Uber Eats person, you don't know if it's a customer who's come to pick up her or his order themselves. Right? Listen, man, excuse me. Pretend this is one of those things where when I was 19, 20 years old, I didn't necessarily get it. I didn't necessarily understand it. But now that some time has gone by and I'm kind of doing my own businesses and stuff like that, and having worked retail in a later time in my life, it makes sense. You treat this establishment as if you are the owner. Because I can guarantee you, when that complaint comes, they're going to describe you, right? Someone once told me it takes 6 to 7 good experiences to change someone from a negative, but all it takes is one bad experience to change it from the positive. Because your average customer is not going to look at it from the perspective of, oh, he was just having a bad day. Oh, she had a crappy customer before me. It's fine. I understand. No. Everyone's in their own little bubble. You have to understand, we all live on the same planet, but we all live in our own world. So what's going through with me I don't really give a shit what's going on with you. Make me feel good, right? And I think a lot of people in the retail world have this belief. I work here, so you need to respect me. But again, this is not your business. This is your job. The consumer does need to have some common courtesy and professionalism about themselves when they conduct business. That is absolutely true. Yes, I agree. However, they're the patron. They're coming to spend their money. There's got to be a fine line. If you are the kind of person that legitimately gives great service and you acknowledge the customer and you do the best you can to resolve all issues, you done everything within your power, then no one can fault you. But if you literally walk past somebody 5 times and look at them, and on the 6th path, you come by and say, has anyone helped you yet? Clearly, you've been watching me the whole time, so the answer is no. Well, I guess I can see if I can help you. Oh, God, please, don't do what the fuck you're paid to do. That's the last thing I'm asking anybody to do at this job, is what they're paid to do, which is help people, right? So, there are certain restaurants, man, that, you get a really bad grade on that. And anyone who's listening to this right now, I guarantee you've been someplace where you were probably the best customer they had all day. You get upset, you were understanding because you understand people have bad days. You try to eliminate all the possibilities of having to need assistance. But hey, I just need assistance. Can you help me? I guess. Would you rather be unemployed? I mean, is this your day off? Do they call you in on your day off or something? What happened? Like, what's the problem? So, if someone walks into your establishment, man, just acknowledge them. Going back to what I said earlier, going into an establishment and a door dasher, right? They are an extension of the customer. So if a dasher asks you, hey, can you show me where this is? Because I looked over there and I didn't find it. Well, did you check that area over there? No, because I didn't think about checking that area. It makes sense. Okay, thank you. Yeah, we're not allowed to help dashers because we have to do our job. Would you have said that to a customer? Again, there's lazy employees and there's lazy delivery people. 100% acknowledge that. But you should have some common sense on acknowledging, did you try looking over here? Did you try looking over there? Did you try this department? Did you try this section? No? Okay, cool. No problem. Now, when I was doing customer service in the retail world, I was very thorough. So let's say someone's looking for some shoes. Help them look for the shoes, help them find their size, whether we had it or not. Okay, cool. Is there anything else I need to help? Did you need me to help you with? Is there anything else you need me to help you find? Is there anything else that you were looking for? So when I walk away, done. Right? Cool. It's just certain questions a lot of people I've noticed when it comes to employees. When I go into a store and I ask them for help and they point me in the direction or they help me look for it, they don't verbally say it, but they look at me like, is there anything else? Don't give me this reaction, this facial expression like, are we done here? And I understand some of these places are short-staffed. Some of these places are underpaid. Some of these places are in high crime, high shrink areas. So they don't have time to help you because they're looking out for shoplifters. I completely get that they're stressed out. But the fact of the matter is this. If I was a customer would you give me the same treatment? The answer is no. Okay? Well, I'm doing a shopping for the customer. I'm here in place of the customer. So again, I'm the extension of the customer. Right? And it isn't what you say, it's how you say it, right? So even if someone gets snappy with me, I learned this from this article, I want to say it was from Harvard. Someone gives me a bad attitude or a snappy ass remark or a snappy ass comment, I kind of just look at them as, are you okay? So if I get someone that gives me bad service, instead of me giving them the same type of attitude they're giving me, I just ask them, are you good? Is everything all right? And most of the time, it's a de-escalation after that moment. Because then it becomes, yeah. Because just that simple question kind of lets them know somebody cares. Even if you care enough to find out why the fuck they're going off on you. That's fine. You cared enough to ask. So they're going to give you some type of response, which then eliminates some frustration from them, which makes them a little bit more easier for you to find out what you need. And it takes you and puts you in a different category of the customer. It's so weird how that actually works out. But I've experimented with it myself, and I understand, okay, this is kind of how that works out. Okay, cool. So moving forward. But yeah, man, when it comes to that customer service thing, just try to remember everybody is going through it. Everybody's going through it. Not one person is exempt from this bullcrap of whatever we're going through. No one's exempt from it, man. Everyone's have their own little variations and their own little levels of it. That's the best way for me to put it, right? So just keep that in mind whenever you're dealing with it. Just keep that in mind. It's not necessarily you. It usually is something else, and it happens to be you're in front of them at that time. But still, just take a chill and understand they're people too. So the next thing I want to talk about is on Instagram, excuse me, there's this gentleman by the name of Mr. Jay Morrison. You guys would probably want to follow my dude. MRJAYMORRISON. And Jay Morrison was having a conversation with the news anchor for, I believe, Fox Business on his IG. It's pinned, so if you check it out, it's a pinned video clip. At this point in time, it was like 84 weeks ago. But I never saw it, and it just happened to pop up on my feed, probably because he recently pinned it. And they're talking about social injustices and everything that's going on in the urban community. Now, you can watch the video yourself, but it's a very interesting clip of them, because the anchor is asking him questions, and my man is legitimately answering these questions and giving examples. I don't want to give too much of the video away, so I'm just going to clearly say this. When dealing with a therapist or dealing with a counselor, their job is to find the root of the problem. They want to make sure they dig deep enough to find out what's the origin of what's going on. And you can always tell because the person the therapist or the counselor is talking to generally gets uncomfortable with the answers, because it's almost like you're getting too close to what I'm protecting. And that's exactly where they want to get to. what you're protecting. And when you finally crack and you finally are vulnerable and you're naked, and I'm not talking about clothes-wise naked, I'm talking about 100% exposed with what you were trying to hide, they're going to dig a little bit deeper, and then they're going to resurface and work their way from the core back to the surface. Now we know what the origin is. Now we can go back and revisit these issues on our way back to now, address them, so we can correct them. Whenever you deal with therapists and whenever you deal with counselors, this is very key. This is a very key strategy. Even in communication of relationships, you want to find out what the core of the problem is, so that way you can fix it. And in order to find out what the core of some issues are, you have to go to the beginning of the problem. And everybody says how counseling is the best thing that can happen, and therapists are heroes, and talking out your problems and communication is therapeutic, and you feel so much better once you open up and communicate. I believe those things. I sincerely do. But when talking about social injustices, we tend to neglect that rule and only want to deal with the surface versus digging into the core. Because by digging into the core, the natural reaction is to say, well, that was then, this is now. What does that have to do with today? Why are you bringing up the past? That had nothing to do with you, so why are you affected? We always want to deflect away from the core of the problem and deal with the surface of the problem when dealing with social or dealing with issues that people would rather just sweep under the rug. And if anyone understands narcissists, and anyone understands people who manipulate, and anyone who understands people who control, these are habits that they have. So when it came down to it, Mr. J. Morrison was giving examples, and he was clearly answering the questions. The gentleman asked him, what were some examples of injustices in the African American community? And Mr. Morrison gave clear examples. He even said that the federal government, and I believe he said the New York City Chief of Police, clearly stated certain systems were in place based on, and the origin of the police officer was derived from slave catchers. And as he's talking these things, all he said was, it was clearly stated that these people and these people stated this was this, that was that. And the news anchor says, so you're basically against anti-arresting? And if you watch it a few times, if you have the patience to watch it a few times, you clearly see deflection, redirection, and avoidance from the person who was asking the questions. And it's interesting because having conversations with people, you start to pick up and read, but some of us avoid. Like, for example, I'm a Raider fan, right? And the Raiders have been hot garbage for almost 2 decades. Why? Because the front office is incompetent. They really are. And then they bring in this nitwit of a head coach who thinks, well, because my buddies and I work together, we're going to bring that same energy over here, which I don't see it happening in the way they want it to. I see it happening in the way it's going to, which is not successfully. But I digress. So when people bring up certain things to bash my Raiders, I always would deflect it to shortcomings of their teams. Well, because I acknowledge that I do that, I'm able to pick up on certain habits when I see other people deflecting and avoiding the issues or questions that are being asked directly to them. Here's the funny thing about all. In my opinion, a narcissist would use that logic against you to prove themselves to be right. But if you use that logic against a narcissist, or against someone who's manipulative, or against someone who's short-sighted, against someone who's closed-minded, against someone whose perspective and belief has already been formed, you're not going to make any headway in a conversation with them. You would have a better conversation with a brick wall than with these people. Because they're so used to doing it subconsciously, they don't even realize that they're doing it. Sometimes. But when it's done to them, alarms go off because they understand what's happening, because many of them project. So with this news anchor, even though his questions were being answered, he would repeat what he wanted to hear. And when Mr. Morrison would simply say, okay, every time someone brings this up, they spin it to this. He's like, I'm not spinning it. And later on in the conversation, you clearly see him spinning it when the questions were asked to him. Because now it's, well, why is it when this happened? And Mr. Morrison would say something like, well, it's because of this people. No, I'm not talking about that group. I'm talking about everybody. Okay. So when Mr. Morrison would come back and say, well, the people that you know, well, I don't want to classify everyone I know. I just want to talk about these people right here. I can do it, but you can't do it. And because I have a platform, by default, that makes me right. So that whole explanation, again, you can go to Mr. J. Morrison on his Instagram and see the video yourself. It's pinned. And he's looking upward angle in a white t-shirt. That's the video. And I believe it's in his top row, first, second, third video on his profile. Here's the description. Well, here's the point of me I'm getting. One of the issues of why we would never, ever get past a lot of these social injustices, these social disagreements, because many people rather focus on the what instead of focus on the why. The what is how you discipline, incarcerate, and remove. Sure. Dealing with the what is the medicine. Dealing with the why, you have to look at oneself, reveal oneself, research oneself, to evaluate oneself. That's the cure. We want to cure all these issues with medicine. Right? It's my A1, when I sent her a video about how AI is becoming to the level that it's at right now, when it was the Neuralink, and with the FDA approval. She was like, and they expect for us by this time to believe they don't have a cure for cancer? Because the money's in the medicine. Did you hear what I said? Focusing on the what is the medicine. Focusing on the why is the cure. There's no money in the cure. The money's in the medicine. So the reason why certain issues do not get addressed is because if you fix the problem, then there's no need for multiple solutions. Does that make sense? The community of African American and it is the highest spending group in this country. I think it's a buying power of like $1 trillion. If you teach them how to invest money, a lot of superficial materialistic items will go out of business. If we were to have a second coming of Black Wall Street, Park Avenue would most likely lose its shit. If we dealt with the whys of the social injustices in a lot of these urban communities, today's version of slavery, aka the justice system, the legal system, will go bankrupt. How much money do you think is in prisons? How much money do you think prisons generate? If that is one of the greatest farm systems for law enforcement and prison system, why would they want to get rid of that? Doesn't make any sense, does it? So again, if you want the problem to continue, focus on the what. He cheated. She cheated. If you want to focus on the why did you cheat? What am I not doing that's causing you to venture out? Then you solve that problem. What say you guys? You can go ahead and call and text 916-282-9372. You can go ahead and download the Spreaker app, fill out a profile, and chat with us here on episode 110. Follow us on social media, the E.I.T.H.R. Subscribe to GNSETV.com. It is a free subscription. Much appreciated. It's your boy Decal for the E.I.T.H.R. podcast, and we are ill.
Dazzled Nails by Ari, and I'm from Sacramento, California, and I'm listening to Decal on the E.I.T.H.R. podcast. Hey!